Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. So, today I thought we'd take a sort of a strange trip down the rabbit hole because this has all happened before and it will probably happen again. The United States government has, some say, for some 70 years now, been hiding the truth about UFOs and aliens. And up until, I suppose, about 2016, most people interested in these subjects agreed that the government was the enemy. But suddenly, in 2016, along comes something called To the Stars Academy, a public benefit corporation. Now, it's been some time now, and I'd still like for somebody to show me what benefit the public got for all those investment dollars that they solicited. I don't see a public benefit. In fact, what I see is people profiteering off of specifically 3 videos that some say were leaked by the United States government. But that's not actually what happened, is it? No, what happened is that a one-time Pentagon employee in the form of Lue Elizondo somehow authorized the declassification of those 3 videos. And then somehow someone walked those videos out into the Pentagon parking lot where one Chris Mellon, who would also become an employee of this organization, this public benefit company, someone walked those 3 videos out to him waiting in the parking lot. And for one reason or another, he took those videos and took them to TTSA, who then profited from them for years. And I would just like for someone to explain to me how any of this is legal, because I'm confused. Were I a Pentagon employee, for example, and I declassified, let's say, drone videos of attacks in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then I snuck them out to the parking lot, or someone working with me snuck those videos out to the parking lot where someone was waiting to take them, and then that person took those videos to a for-profit company that claims to be a public benefit, I don't know, and then we profited from the release of those videos for years. I don't believe that that would be legal for me to do. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer or an expert in how declassification works or who's allowed to profit from these videos. Should Tom DeLonge, Lue Elizondo, Chris Mellon, Hal Puthoff, and others be allowed to profit from videos that were classified, then declassified, and then taken out of the Pentagon to a waiting Chris Mellon in the parking lot, and then taken to TTSA for them to slap their watermark on and broadcast them on YouTube? Should they be allowed to profit from that? I'm confused about why that is just okay. And I'm also confused, and I need someone to explain to me, did TTSA get paid for all of the news channels who transmitted or used those videos during news reports? Friends, the 3 videos in question, FLIR, Gimbal, and Go Fast. Let's take a look here. The FLIR video received 10,000 views on YouTube. The Gimbal, 8.4 million views, and the Go Fast, 10 million views. That's 30 million views on YouTube. Now, I'm a little bit confused. Can anybody post their videos, those 3 videos, since they're essentially government property, or were, onto their YouTube channels. Now, it's important to note that I don't believe at this time that those videos are monetized on the To the Stars Academy, To the Stars Academy YouTube page. However, those videos were shown on the History Channel, and they made money on this History Channel television show, largely based on the release of these 3 videos. Now, it's interesting that when we talk about misinformation, I said at the beginning of this broadcast that this has happened before, and it's going to happen again, because the government has used misinformation agents and the cover of alien stories to cover for their top secret black projects. The most famous of these cases is perhaps the Benowitz case, in which Paul Benowitz was seeing some things off of an Air Force base that he lived near. So what did the government do? They sent a literal paid disinformation agent in the form of Richard Doty to convince that person that what he was seeing was not top secret drone technology being tested and developed at that nearby base, but rather aliens. The government and their misinformation agents literally drove that man crazy. It's a tragic story. And yet somehow some people get a pass for that. And now they can become the darlings of the UFO community. But I'm not here to judge past events. I'm here to talk about current events. If the government, and this can be verified, have sent literal misinformation agents into the so-called UFO community in the past, what's to say that they are not doing it now? Some other issues come up that are very important when we talk about these things. It's also been well established that a UFO researcher by the name of Bill Moore was, for a time, a paid government disinformation agent. And in fact, at a 1989 MUFON conference, Moore came clean and explained that he was providing the government with information about UFO researchers, conferences, and what's going on in the UFO community in exchange for information. Moore also claimed that he had been similarly engaged in disinformation activities against Paul Benowitz on behalf of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. This has all happened before. It may be happening now, and it will happen again in the future. What better cover story could there be than people believing in aliens? And isn't it interesting that we get these stories like Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked on aliens flying saucers at a top secret sub base of Area 51? Wouldn't it be easy for the government to come out and say, he never worked for us, this story is bull, this never happened? But instead of squashing the story, the United States government did nothing about it. Perhaps, just maybe, people looking for alien flying saucers off of Area 51 is exactly what the government wants. They don't want you to know what it is they're really working on. Much better to let people chase the alien hypothesis, the flying saucers that may or may not exist. So in 2016, along comes TTSA with a board filled with former CIA people, DIA people, and government workers. But this time, they were going to give us the real truth. They were going to bring us disclosure. And I got to say, what a disappointment, because first of all they brought us was a television show about largely about those 3 videos that somebody snuck out of the Pentagon. Rules were broken. Sorry, bent. They bent the rules. Chris Mellon said they had to bend the rules in order to get those videos out. They also sold books, Tom DeLonge's books, and a book by Bob Lazar. Those were for profit. The television show that they took part in with the History Channel, largely based on the 3 videos that were snuck out of the Pentagon or declassified and then taken out of the Pentagon and taken over to the TTSA. They profited from that. They profited from the book sales. They profited from investors claiming that they were going to build a, quote, quote, spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world, unquote, while they were soliciting public investor funds. Still haven't seen a spaceship, but I've seen Tom DeLonge do all kinds of, let's just call them accounting gymnastics to account where all the money goes. I don't know how any of this is legal. I don't know how the SEC hasn't swooped in and done something about what happened. And if you were unfortunate enough to have invested in TTSA, I'd like you to contact me and let me know how much money you got back on as a return on that investment if you invested in TTSA. Have the shareholders been paid any dividends? I don't know, but we're going to more fully explore that on a future episode here. And I can't wait to help bring that breakdown of the TTSA financial situation to you all, because that alone is an incredible story, a for-public benefit company. But I don't see any benefit to the public. I see plenty of benefit to Tom DeLonge and his buddies. They're all making money. But I don't see any benefit to the public, and I certainly don't see any benefit to the shareholders, the investors. Why can't I find anybody that invested that got their money, that got their money's worth? Why doesn't anybody who invested want to talk on air about what happened there? I have been asking for several years now for somebody who invested to contact me and let me know, what did you get back on your investment? How much did you invest? How did this all work out for you as an investor? So far, crickets. And that alone is curious. Now, the other issue that I have with TTSA and Lue Elizondo is this. They get everything wrong. They get a lot of things wrong. Tom DeLonge famously went on Joe Rogan, and he played for Joe Rogan a fake TR3B video, swearing that it was real. And Joe Rogan's like, no, this isn't real. That can't be real. Come on, this is a fake video, Tom. His performance on the Joe Rogan show as a representative of his To the Stars Academy was dismal. A terrible, terrible failure. And so what do we get here? We get a guy with a bunch of government people, former rock star Tom DeLonge, with a bunch of government people who say they're going to do stuff to benefit the public. And then they make a lot of money for themselves, apparently, but I don't know where all the money that the investors are supposed to get back is. And there's all kinds of shady accounting games with the TTSA. And we're going to break it down on a future episode, but that is beyond the beyond the scope of tonight's broadcast, which I'm hoping will be a short one, honestly, because I've got an awful lot of things to do. Let me check this out. No. You really shouldn't do that during a live broadcast. Somebody posted rest in peace, somebody, and I don't believe they're dead. So please don't do that. So back to misinformation and getting things wrong. I followed TTSA And I kept asking where the spaceship was. Nobody wanted to answer my questions. I even tried to contact TTSA multiple times, including their spokesperson. And did you know that their spokesperson or media relations person is Tom DeLonge's sister, who gets paid $150,000 a year, apparently from those investor funds? I'm not sure what she does that's worth $150,000, and I'd like somebody to explain that to me. How do you get paid $150,000? I emailed, called, no response. Great. But there was a thread, and I don't usually want to cover a Twitter thread, but this one is so topical here and important that I thought we should. And that is a thread from John from the Black Vault, who broke down all of the misinformation that they have peddled since TTSA began, and Lue has peddled. Recently, Lue was on a radio show, the host of which we don't mention here, but many of you will know who I'm talking about. And he cites the Sun newspaper from England, which is a tabloid rag joke of a newspaper. Citing that as a source would be exactly like me citing the National Enquirer or the Globe newspaper in the United States and saying, see, Clinton met with aliens because it was in the Globe newspaper. It must be true. No, friends. Lue Elizondo has made multiple mistakes like this. And it just brings into question every other statement that he's made. He's using a trash rag tabloid newspaper as a source for a talking point. And what about those other talking points? Like, we have biological samples, we have exotic metals or things that may be recovered from flying saucers. If he can't even get things right and he's citing things like a tabloid rag newspaper, I think we can make some determination about his ability to vet accurate information or not. And there is this concept here in ufology of these UFO messiahs. They come along and they claim they're going to bring about disclosure. The first that I can really say was one of the UFO messiahs was Stephen Greer, who in 2001 started the Disclosure Project and had a big press conference, and he's going to bring us disclosure. He's one of the UFO messiahs. And one of the things that you'll notice about the UFO messiahs is that they get this level of worship and respect in the UFO community because they're going to bring us the truth about these aliens, but they never do. No, they all make a lot of money, right? That's another hallmark of a UFO messiah. You're going to be a UFO messiah. You got to have lots of stories about UFOs and aliens. You got to do lots of conference appearances. You got to make lots of documentaries or make a lot of books to sell. And you got to make a lot of money. Okay? Buy my latest course. Buy my app. Buy my book. Buy my documentary. But they never give you any of the smoking gun evidence that they claim that they have. It's all maybe true, could be true, couldn't be anything other than aliens. I love that. I love that talking point they all use. Well, it couldn't have been a human-made craft for these reasons. Friends, the person who runs Lockheed Skunk Works once said, we have things out in the desert that would make George Lucas jealous. And I believe that. There's no way for any so-called UFO messiah to know what exactly is in the United States arsenal of weaponry and advanced aerial craft. But yet, they'll tell you, and I just heard Lue Elizondo today on a broadcast basically claiming, oh, these things it has to be aliens, right? But I'll leave the door open just a little bit that it might be foreign technology. What about United States technology? Because I don't care, Lue Elizondo, if you worked at the Pentagon, you had a certain level of access. You don't know. Even working at the Pentagon, you have no idea what is being developed by Lockheed Skunk Works, by Boeing, by other manufacturers and developers of advanced aerial aircraft. Now I'm hearing new claims from Lue Elizondo that he worked on special drone projects, and he mentioned some. So we're going to FOIA the government, and we're going to find out if he indeed worked on those projects or had any involvement in them. Because the real problem with Lue Elizondo is that he says a lot of stuff, but there's never any paperwork. There's never any proof to the things that he says. And let's not forget that all of this started in 2016 with the New York Times article in which somebody lied to the New York Times. And since Mr. Elizondo is cited as the major source of that article, I can only assume that he lied or misrepresented things to them. He claimed that the program that he worked for had a certain amount of budget. And now we know that that program he worked for had no budget. You see, the problem with Lue Elizondo is that he could not have worked full-time on a UFO project that had zero funding. No, friends. He did something else within the Pentagon. And does this story sound familiar? Kind of like Nick Pope, who claimed that he ran the British mod UFO program, but then we find out, no, he was just an administrative assistant. And what does that mean? He was a desk jockey. He did things like type letters and fax things for people more important than him. How is Lue Elizondo running a UFO program that has zero funding? And there's all of this murkiness and gray area, right? Was it ATIP or OSAP? No, OSAP got the funding, not ATIP. He claims he ran ATIP and had funding of $22 million, right? Oh, no. That's right. ATIP did not have the $22 million in funding. It was OSAP, a separate program that he did not run, that got that money. And it would appear, no matter what you call the program, that there's $22 million. And we got what? What do we get for the $22 million? Now, I'll give you that $22 million is a literal drop in the bucket to a government program. But what do we get? If he studied UFOs and ran a program, where are all the papers? Now, I don't know everything about how the government works and declassification and all these different things, but I know one thing. If there's a government program, there's an awful lot of papers. They love paperwork. And where is Lue Elizondo's paperwork? We get a few things. We get that request form for when he was trying to declassify those 3 videos so that he could go over to TTSA. Oh, and by the way, we now know from the Who's Lue documentary that he moved his wife right next to TTSA a year before he worked for them. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that these people planned this profiteering scheme this entire time. But that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. And, another really point of good news. I'm happy to say that Manny from Area 503 fought the false copyright strikes leveled against him by dickhead show host and TTSA. They copyright claimed his documentary so that they could get it taken off of YouTube, but it is now back. Just search for Area 503 in the YouTube search bar. You'll find the Who's Lue documentary, and I think you should watch it. And I think that you should start asking questions of Lue Elizondo, who apparently only goes on shows that aren't going to ask him the hard questions. But I'm still hopeful that someday a show host that doesn't know me well is going to let me co-host if they get Lue as a guest, right? That would be nice. And we could ask him these questions directly, like, why did you move your wife right next to TTSA where you would work a year later, a year before you took a job there? But then we do see a pattern of him moving his wife to wherever his next job is, always sometime before he moves to a new place of employment. Interesting, isn't that? Because TTSA claimed that they didn't know each other. They didn't even know each other till like a week before he took the job. Sure, Tom DeLonge. And why is Tom DeLonge copyright striking a channel with, less than 10,000 subscribers who made a documentary film. They don't want you to see it, friends. They do not want you to see that documentary. They don't want people to start asking these questions, especially not before the next Lue Elizondo cash in, which is his book, which he now claims is going to be game changing. It's going to change everything. They won't be able to put the cat back in the bag after his book. So we're expected to believe that this whole time he had some kind of smoking gun proof, right? But he held off so that he could write a book and make more money. He didn't make enough money on the television show. He didn't make enough money working for TTSA. Apparently, he's not making enough money speaking at online UFO conferences for, let's just say, less than credible people that he has decided to involve himself with. But to get a real education into why something's wrong here, we would have to detail all the fake information that TTSA and Lue Elizondo has pushed. They have, pushed fake pictures of balloons as UFOs. Tom DeLonge has pushed a fake video of a TR-3B on the biggest podcast on planet Earth. That was embarrassing for him. And I believe after that, they pulled him back and said, yo, you can't be the spokesperson for this thing anymore, do public appearances if you're going to screw up that badly. The biggest podcast on planet Earth that gets some, 10 or 15 million views for episode, and Tom DeLonge with his new organization that's going to bring about disclosure, him and all his CIA government friends, they're going to bring us disclosure. And the best that Tom DeLonge could do is show Joe Rogan a fake video of a TR-3B. And there's more. They pushed the fact that they have some kind of exotic materials, which may have come from an alien flying saucers, right? But they forget to tell you that most of the material they have was the so-called Art's parts, which even Art Bell himself said, this is all regular material. There's nothing special about it. It's nonsense. But that doesn't stop UFO grifters. Not so fast. In swoops Linda Moulton Hale, who says, I'll get them scientifically tested. And then she did. And the scientist that she hired was able to reproduce those materials and told her these are regular earthly materials. There's nothing exotic here. She didn't like that guy, so she squashed his report, never gave his report that there was nothing extraordinary about those metal fragments and that he could reproduce them. She buried that, and then she hired new guys that would say there was something special about them. Fast forward years later, those Art's parts been around forever. Linda Moulton Hale made a lot of money talking about how they were alien parts. They're not. Nobody's ever proved shit. Fast forward years later, Tom DeLonge swoops in and buys those parts, and suddenly he's telling everybody that TTSA is in possession of exotic material from UFOs. And what did they do? They used a stock image of a certain kind of a rock in their announcement about that. And it goes on and on and on. And now we have Lue Elizondo pushing well, there weren't fake documents. They were real documents, but it was about a training exercise. It wasn't what he purported it to be. And it certainly wasn't what the Sun newspaper purported it to be. And on we go with these fake people pushing fake nonsense. It's all about the money, friends. If Lue Elizondo stands up and goes, all right, we've got some videos of UFOs, but they may be drones. It's quite likely that they're drones or unmanned aerial vehicles, whatever you want to call them. There's no money in that. There's no big story in that. But the fact that they may be aliens, that's where the money is. And I have seen this time and time again. There are some very credible researchers that do not go straight to the alien explanation, almost ever. And they look at so-called UFO proof, and they try to get to the bottom of what it really is. And most of the time, there is a very simple explanation for what it is. Go look how much those people are making. Then contrast that with how much money the people pushing aliens constantly are making. Stephen Greer, Lue Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, and others have made literally millions of dollars. And there's others too, like Linda Moulton Hale. I'm sure she's made millions of dollars over the years pushing this. Richard Dolan and others. Everybody pushing the aliens is making the money. And while I would love to believe, I'm going to need something a little bit better than maybe proof. Could be. Maybe, could be's, and possibilities is not proof. It's maybes, possibilities, and could be's. I guess I've been here too long, and that's something else that we could talk about. You know, there is cycles to this stuff, right? Disclosure's going to come. You know, like that one, that report that we just got, that's going to be disclosure. No, it wasn't. It was a big fat nothing burger, and I predicted it would be a big fat nothing burger. But it didn't stop people like Jeremy Corbell and Lue Elizondo and everybody else from hyping that up for months and months and months, doing all these media appearances. We're going to get disclosure. Disclosure's coming with this report. They're going to have to tell us the truth. And then nothing burger. But I thought it would be good to go over this thread from John from the Black Vault. And, you know, kind of hesitant to do this, but we're going there because we're going to get a ridiculous amount of haters and people, you know, harassing me on Twitter. But, you know, I have a new attitude towards that, and that is block, 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 block. If you want to ask me a question or engage with me respectfully or disagree with me respectfully, we're all for that here. We believe in free speech and not censoring people and all of that. But when people are going to become abusive and nasty, I just don't have time for it anymore. I apologize to those who may not get to me or get an answer from me if you know, tweet at me or message me, because I'm getting busier and busier now, the bigger that this show is growing. But I also sometimes just check out after a show like this, because I just know that it's going to be a whole bunch of venomous, nasty people. And I hate that sometimes the good people get lost in there. But, you know, the good people know where to contact me, and they're always welcome here in the live chats. And, you know, I try not to miss you people, because I do the show for the good people, not for these nasty, negativist assholes, you know, who just want to harass me because I said something they disagreed with. Like, dude, there is so much more important things to worry about in this world than this stuff. And for people to get this angry, upset, and nasty about it. But, you know, recently I've been thinking about this. This is truly like a religion for some people. And it would, and me coming out and say, all this shit is fake, and all these people pushing it are fake. It's really akin to somebody telling, you know, I happen to be a Christian, and if somebody were to tell me, you know, all those saints and Jesus and those angels and all, that's all fake shit, and you're stupid for believing it, I would be equally upset probably. I wouldn't, you know, go on a 12-hour Twitter tirade harassing people who said that, but, you know, I can understand how some people may be upset about some of the things that we discuss here, because some of these people so desperately believe all this stuff that attacking it is akin to attacking their religion. They want to live in a delusion, right? And these people who I have mentioned here tonight are feeding their delusion, so they love them. And that's why we get these people up on a pedestal. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to call these people when they get caught dead to rights selling completely and totally fake shit, like, I don't know, video game cover artwork that they claim is a real picture of an alien or whatever. Or Lue Elizondo pushing a goddamn Sun newspaper, the biggest rag in England, full of fake shit. They don't want to hear that their hero did that, but he did, and more. And I think that, you know, I saw this thread recently, and I would say that these people, especially Lue Elizondo and Tom DeLonge, they have a lot of questions to answer, but they keep kicking the can, right? They just keep kicking the can. Like, let's just keep going on friendly shows that will do the UFO circle jerk and not ask us hard questions. You know, the shows that we know they're friendly and they're fans of mine, let's just do those shows. And, it used to bother me because Lue Elizondo said, I'll go on anybody's show. He won't come here. He won't go on Goof On or a few other shows, or he won't go on Third Phase of Moon, of all things. Listen, despite whatever I feel about Third Phase of Moon, they do literally have the biggest channel about UFOs on YouTube. So him refusing to go on my show is one thing, even though I've seen him go on shows that have, half of my subscribers. It's not about subscribers to him. It's about who's going to be friendly to him, who's not going to challenge him. And I'm sorry, but that makes him a coward. And the fact that he won't go on Third Phase of Moon makes him a coward, because that's the biggest UFO channel. If you've really got a message or important information that you think people need to hear, why would you not go on a show that big? Unless you were scared of what they might ask you. Now I get it. There's these factions, the Third Phase of Moon aligned themselves with Stephen Greer and Goof On as well. And Stephen Greer's got a problem with Lue Elizondo. But I don't understand why Lue Elizondo won't just go on a show and have a conversation with Stephen Greer. I'd like to see that, wouldn't you? Those two are beefing big time. I think Stephen Greer says that Lue Elizondo is a CIA disinformation agent. And Lue Elizondo says a lot of stuff about Stephen Greer, like he's running a cult and things like that, which may be true, by the way. Look, I'm neutral in this. I think that they're both full of shit. I think they're both full of shit. Both Stephen Greer and Lue Elizondo, they're both full of shit. They just have different shit, right? But the fact that they're beefing, right? Because listen, there's only so much money in this UFO thing, and each of them wants to make the most of it that they can, right? So you gotta tear down the other guy because his stuff's bullshit, but mine's real. That's another thing. Lue Elizondo is going to tell us that Stephen Greer's full of shit, but I'm not. I'm not full of shit. Stephen Greer is. It's laughable because they both say absolutely fantastical things with no evidence, no proof, no backup, no sort of, even indication of evidence. Stephen Greer is showing people pictures of freaking moths, telling them they're aliens. And Lue Elizondo is running around telling everybody that the government has biological UFO samples, right? The government has what may be alien, samples of tissue or whatever. Okay, do you got any proof of that? Well, my NDA, we're getting a little dangerous here. I've got an NDA and I can't really. Well, why bring it up in the first place, Lue Elizondo, unless you've got proof of that fantastical claim you made, right? Trust me, dude. That's how this works. I believe the government may be in possession of some alien biological samples. Wow, that's amazing, Lue Elizondo. How do you know that? Well, I'm getting close to my NDA, so I can't really disclose how I know that or why I think that is true and accurate. But just trust me, dude. Just trust me. The government has them. Dude, just trust me. That's how this garbage works. Just like Stephen Greer. Dude, just trust me. You can buy an app for $10 and you can talk to the aliens too. By the way, I'm buying the app. We're going to do it, and we're going to report the results. But back to the misinformation that TTSA and Lue Elizondo has spread. John from the Black Vault, and I hope he's not going to be upset that I'm sharing this, but it is a public Twitter post, so I think we're okay. But, here, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. John from the Black Vault is a gentleman. He really is. He is who I should aspire to be more like, right? He's like a real journalist or something because he doesn't say, he's just not crude, okay? I'm like the bad, crude version of him sometimes because I do good research, but then I get upset and I say stuff like, that guy's full of shit, and here's why. This guy is a bullshitter. No, John from the Black Vault is very much more professional and diplomatic and what I would aspire to be more like, right? I could learn a lot from him and how he handles these things, but he's not afraid to go after the truth and ask hard questions, right? Or to show you why maybe, just maybe, somebody should not be trusted. to tell us the truth about these UFOs and aliens, because they have displayed their ability and willingness to push literal fake information as something more than it is. And that's the game that I believe Tom DeLonge and Lue Elizondo have been playing here. They take a little bit of something that may be true or could be true, and they hype it up. And I just heard him on a show today he said, I would rather under hype and over deliver than over hype. All he has is hype. He hasn't shown us proof of anything, nothing. He's gotten a couple of videos declassified out of the Pentagon, right? That's it. And what do those videos prove? Apparently those videos prove nothing, because it's not a smoking gun. It could be drones. It could be anything. But this is where we find ourselves. Let's get to this. So this is from John from the Black Vault. He says, I think my retweet about calling others out for inaccurate information was misconstrued by some. So let me explain further the frustration that sparks posts like that. This may be long but controversial, but it needs to be said. So here goes. Yeah, and listen, Lue also was called out by Stephen Greenstreet because he completely and totally mischaracterized documents on CNN, saying that they were recently declassified when they came from decades ago. That's just one of the Lue Elizondo fuck-ups. Pardon the French. All right, so John says, I truly mean no disrespect to any party. See that? He's so diplomatic and professional and nice. Goes on to say, but I think Middle of Mayhem, that's Stephen Greenstreet, I am not speaking for him, and his recent posts point out a trend that goes back to day one of visuals used to fit a narrative in the current UFO conversation, but they aren't accurately portrayed. True. 3. And I truly mean day one of this current conversation. In the original press conference in October 2017 that introduced Lue Elizondo to the world, a party balloon was shown to depict a Tic Tac as Chris Mellon talked. This, of course, was entirely inaccurate. Yeah, so to the Stars Academy, when they had their fake press conference, by the way, it wasn't a press conference. There was nobody there. They were in an empty room. To the Stars Academy live presentation on Nimitz UFO by Chris Mellon. What they showed was a picture of a party balloon. Nimitz UFO photo is of a party balloon taken in Manchester, UK in 2005 by Steve Mera. Next, we get Lue Elizondo on October 2018 lecture in Italy telling the world stage about UFOs. He talked about a series of events where in 1952, UFOs were seen buzzing the Capitol of the White House. He showed, quote, real photographs, unquote, that consisted of a CGI construct and a cartoon. So Lue Elizondo shows a CGI construct and a cartoon and says, these are real photographs of the time UFOs buzzed Washington, D.C. And now that event might be real, but why would you use completely and totally fake manufactured images and suggest that they were real photographs? And what kind of a counterintelligence officer is so bad at research like this? He mischaracterized documents on CNN. He's using fake photographs. He's quoting the Sun newspaper in England as a credible media source. Doesn't he know that's a rag? That's like, Biden met with aliens. That's the kind of stories that they have. Trump met with a secret council of galactic aliens. They posted that story too. Maybe Lue Elizondo can use that story as proof of his alien claims. Moving on, August 2018, a video was released by TTSA Academy saying Mr. Elizondo and the team were collecting UFO material samples. The conversation then shifted towards metamaterials and how these samples could blow the entire topic wide open. And this one I caught, honestly, and I believe I may have been the first person to catch it. A press release was sent out. That press release outlined numerous pieces were acquired by TTSA, which come from, quote, an advanced aerospace vehicle of unknown origin, unquote. In the announcement, they use a rock sample known as malachite from a stock photo house. And I was one of the people that caught that. As soon as they made the press release, I just did a Google reverse image search because I said, that's a picture of like a mineral sample or something. That doesn't even look like metal to me. And it turns out, yeah, they used a picture of malachite, a special kind of rock from a stock photo house. Why would they misrepresent a photo of a rock as materials from, quote, an advanced aerospace vehicle of unknown origin, unquote? Why would they just not use a picture of the actual material? John goes on to say, I think a genuine question we all need to ask is, why would TTSA Academy show a black and white photograph of a mineral known as malachite, exact photo available from a stock house? And he gives the link for where that photo came from. I did back then too as well. Many people actually caught the fact that they were using a stock picture of a rock. All they did is buy it from a stock photo place and they turned it black and white. Yeah. So that's great. Next, in the television series Unidentified, Mr. Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, and 3 unidentified individuals are shown with the insinuation that they were the ones running the current ATIP UFO investigative efforts. One of the 3 individuals have come forward. According to him, he was entirely misrepresented and he was forced to file a report to his superiors within the DOD. And the story gets much weirder. He came forward and part of his story is here. And John found that individual that was shown on the TV show and misrepresented. And there's a whole story about how Lue Elizondo and Tom DeLonge completely and totally misrepresented that guy in their television show. Essentially, they lied about what the meeting was about, what he was there for, what they were talking about. Again, they misrepresent things in order to hype it up and sell it. Okay. Number 9, just this past week, Mr. Elizondo profiled, I saw profited. Yeah, because I'm always, when I hear Elizondo, the first thing I think of is profited or profit. Mr. Elizondo profiled, pardon me, Freudian slip there. Elizondo, profit. Yeah, that's a way. Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Elizondo profiled an article from The Sun, a commonly lambasted UK tabloid-style paper, which commonly runs over-embellished stories about aliens. Mr. Elizondo conveyed one of those false narratives on a certain radio show, which created a firestorm. Yeah, because it was fake. Number 10. But the firestorm of excitement was unneeded. Not only was the headline misleading, the declassified NSA material was nothing of the sort. The entire real history behind the document that has been talked about can be found here. Yeah, and it was a training exercise. It had nothing to do with what Lue Elizondo or the Sun newspaper or anybody else has been hyping. That people have been hyping that thing for years. It's not what it appears to be. 11, as people like Stephen Greenstreet, myself, and others are lambasted for bringing up stuff like the above. Where is the same criticism for the trend on inaccuracies? I am in no way even close to perfect. I make mistakes all the time. Where known, I correct them. Yes, and John's very good with that. 12, but why is there such a double standard when it comes to the heroes and the villains? And what has turned into a role-playing game for so many? Yes, this has become a LARP, a live-action role-playing game. Some can do no wrong while others can do no right. 13, there comes a time when there is enough misrepresentation of a material, questions should be asked. It doesn't mean there needs to be insults or public lashings or anything of the sort. 14, but if I continually used false imagery or misrepresented documents, I can assure you there's a handful of people that would make mega blogs about me, create memes, tweet obsessively about it, and then they would party right into the triumph with their secret clubs. 15, I yet again am reminded about the double standard that exists within the UFO conversation. I won't be afraid to call out, that isn't a call to arms, as some of you want to believe I meant, the inconsistencies. If they're resolved, great, we move on. If they aren't, then we should all continue to ask questions and press for answers from those who claim they are giving you the honest truth. I speak for only myself here, but I am not wanting to be in an echo chamber. Finally, he says, I encourage respectful dialogue, and if I make a mistake, call me out. All the above all applies to me too. And I've always said that. We are a team, and despite what some people think, we don't have to walk on eggshells as we pursue the truth. It's tougher than that. So there we have it, a very good, well thought out history of all of the things that TTSA and Tom DeLonge and Lue Elizondo have inaccurately misrepresented in order to sell their narrative. And I, for one, think that it's very problematic, right? That I think John is right. If I get something wrong, I get hammered over it. I mean, hammered. If John gets something wrong, he gets hammered. Green Street and a few others get something wrong. We all get hammered. We get hammered for it. Even if we apologize and explain it and move forward, we all get hammered. But these UFO messiahs, they get a pass. So what if they used a fake picture of a party balloon? So what if they held a press conference and claimed it was a press conference, but there was not one member of the press there? They did it for an empty auditorium they rented. So what? So what if Tom DeLonge went on Joe Rogan and showed a video of a fake UFO that wasn't real, it was CGI, right? So what if Lue Elizondo got the fact that he is quoting from recently declassified documents that weren't recently declassified and had very little to do with what he was trying to use them as proof of? So what? So what if they use a fake picture of a rock while they're claiming to have exotic materials in their possession, which may be aliens? So what? And none of them ever explain this shit. All of these UFO circle jerk show hosts, I watched one today, terrible show, terrible interview, all this shit. And what do they ask them? Softball circle jerk questions. Tell us about your upcoming book, Lou. What we lick your asshole. Why isn't anybody asking Lue Elizondo these questions? The real questions that he should be answering. Or all the questions in that Who's Lou documentary. Why is nobody asking him those questions? Why isn't he stepping forward like a man, right? And saying, listen, I understand you made a documentary. There's a lot of questions in it. And I'm here. I'll answer some of those questions because it's not what you think or whatever. No, he didn't do that. You know what he did? He goes on a circle jerk show host show and threatens to take people behind the barn and teach them a lesson. This man threatened people with physical violence because they asked questions. Seems pretty weak to me, Lou. If you got to threaten people with violence because they asked you questions you don't like, and why does it get a pass for that? If I threaten people with physical violence, I would get hammered. I would get crucified for making violent threats against people. But this UFO messiah just gets to tell people he's going to beat them up because they ask questions he doesn't like. And this is another thing. On this show today, Lue Elizondo says, I don't dox people. Well, that show that you were on told people, we're going after you for hosting a documentary filmmaker. We're going after you for going after Lou. And what did they do? They doxed me. They doxed the filmmaker. They try to get Rich's show deleted from YouTube. That's a whole nother issue. So while maybe Lue Elizondo doesn't directly dox people, he's never come out and said that he disagreed with that show host that licks his asshole constantly and their friends doing all that. Hey, Lou, I got doxed. I have a wife and children. Would you make a statement that you disavow, that you don't condone people doing that to people who disagree with you? Would you be a man and come forward and do that? Or what about the filmmaker? Do you think he should get doxxed, harassed, cyberstalked, and threatened for making that documentary? Or what about the other show hosts that hosted that filmmaker getting harassed, threatened, intimidated, talk shit on? Why don't you just answer the questions and stop using your ass lickers to defend yourself? But this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. So, look, there's not much more I could say about this, except that I'm tired of these UFO messiahs getting a pass. They shouldn't get a pass like this. Why don't they have to answer the hard questions, especially when they themselves are the ones that are generating this misinformation, this fake information? Why don't they have to answer for that? And I want to thank Al Warrior for a kind and generous $3.33 super chat. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your continued support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. We're a viewer-supported show, so let me just tell you, there's some few things. If you're tired of the UFO circle jerk and you want people asking these UFO messiahs and other personalities the hard questions, then please support independent media like this. There's a few ways to support us. You can join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. We'll be doing a Patreon-only stream this weekend. And we do sort of a backstage pass. You get all my music that I make before it's ever made public. You get a monthly show journal, some extra content, and more. The link to join my Patreon is in the description of this video. Or you can make a PayPal donation. And just be sure, if you make a PayPal donation, that you do add a note and include your chat room user ID, because we shout out every PayPal donator. We shout out every super chat. We read all the super chats. It's another way that you can help us. Wow. All right. We have a kind and generous $50 PayPal donation from Dennis. Thank you very much. And we're going to read all these when we come back. So the other way to help me is with the PayPal, or excuse me, with the super chat. There's a money button down there in the live chat. And all you do is hit that button and put in however much money. If you've never done it before, you might need to add a credit or a debit card in order to make it work, but then it'll just work forever. And you can throw money at me whenever you want after the first time. And we appreciate that. We read each and every single super chat. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a short musical break. And when we come back, we're going to read every single super chat. So if you have some generosity in your heart, if you like the content we're producing and you want to see us continue producing it, hit that money button and throw a couple of bucks in our hat to keep us doing this good work that doesn't involve the circle jerk. Okay? There's enough. There's so many UFO circle jerk shows. We need people asking the hard questions, and I'd like to be one of them. So if you're feeling generous and you want to support the show, hit that money button, throw a couple bucks in our hat, and keep us moving forward, fighting the good fight. So we're going to take a short musical break, and when I come back, we're going to read each and every single super chat. We're going to read the PayPal donations, and then I will take comments and questions from the live chat. So if you have comments or questions, get those ready. Put them in all caps, please, so that I know that's a comment or question for me and you want me to share it on my screen and talk about it. Questions or comments for me in all caps. Money for me, hit that money button. PayPal donation, you can also, by the way, now send money to us through Cash App. It's Truthseekers Show at Cash App. All right, so we're going to take a short musical break. I have a new musical guest tonight, the band Bong. Just hearing the band name was enough to sell me. Your band's called what? So my band's called Bong. B-O-N-G. And they sent me a couple of their songs. They are listeners to the show and supporters of the show. So we want to give back and support their artistic endeavors. This is a great song, actually. It's by this band called Bong, and it's called Those Who Pray. We'll be right back, friends.
Order
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be having a discussion here with the live chat. We will be reading each and every super chat, chat it at us, and every single PayPal donation, Cash App donation. You guys give me an attitude of gratitude. This is a viewer-supported show, and we are well supported by many kind and generous people who help us continue the show moving forward. I'm happy to say that I have literally, anybody that knows me knows that, I fix computers, but the problem with that is that I'm kind of like that mechanic who doesn't have time to work on his own. So mine are always like ripped apart and falling apart and messed up. And I've got a few of these old Xeon processor servers that I use for video editing machines. They're falling apart. They have memory parity problems and things that I probably can't even fix if I had the time or wanted to. So I've replaced one, and we're doing some other upgrades here in the studio. Always nice to have a couple of bucks in the till to just, let's just get it fixed. And I want to thank each and every one of you for that. So we're going to start with the super chats. Let me go way back. There was one a ways back here. Luckily now they let you go that far back. So we have Al Warrior with a kind and generous $3.33. Al Warrior 3. I don't know what happened to Al Warrior. Maybe he's got a new account, Al Warrior 3. Or there's 3 of them now, but $3.33. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. Very kind of you. Lee Guy, Mr. Bacon, that's good because we're out. My wife gets that box bacon that comes pre-cooked sometimes. It's great for BLT sandwiches because it's just enough. It's more than enough bacon for 2 really nice BLT sandwiches. And we're out of that right now. So thank you, Lee Guy, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And yes, the last time my wife made bacon, I didn't get up in time, so my son ate it all. That's his favorite thing in the world, Lee Guy, bacon. Andrew Masonette with a kind and generous $10 super chat says, thank you so much, Stephen. Buy your son some bacon. I will. And the next, I got to learn how to make bacon, though. I drunk ate a burnt bacon sandwich last week because I somehow burnt the bacon. And it wasn't because I was drunk. It was because I can't cook bacon. I don't know how my wife does it. Hers always comes out perfect. Mine, I always burn it. But thank you, Andrew, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And thank you very much there, Lee Guy and Al Warrior. And then we have Amy WC with a kind and generous $3 super chat. Thank you all for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. Like I said, you guys give me an attitude of gratitude. And what can I say? Now we have Complizer. Now that I know, I'm sorry, Complizer. I'm making a note. And he is a long-time supporter of the show who uses PayPal. And by the way, if you have a larger donation to send, like Complizer gets the generosity gift or generosity award tonight. He sent a kind and generous $50, or I'm sorry, is it $48.27, or maybe it was $50 before they. Oh, it was $51. I apologize. Complizer with a kind and generous $51 PayPal donation. And he added a note, which we read every note that people send with their PayPal donation. His note says, and this is very topical for tonight, so I'm happy to read this. His note says, it's all just some Bigelow claims, Bigelow aims, Bigelow paid, Bigelow framed, Bigelow scale, Bigelow said, Bigelow would like to be real, but aerospace failed Bigelow. No. True, real, solid evidence ever raised. Bunch of wannabe woo-woo tales of paid Bigelow crew members, screwed up book deal preferring fakers, tales of lying saucers that, I'm going to steal that, lying saucers, that's a good term, that all of these so-called experiencers in love with aliens in their heads, abductees, fantastic Lue believers, Lulu lovers just love to hear in their UAP ET fairy tale lullabies so their normal anybody lives finally make sense to someone else. Trash retrieval for UFO dollars. Well, thank you, Complizer, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. Very, very generous of you. Very generous of all of you. Throwing a couple of bucks in the hat in order to keep the ball rolling here. And thank you all for that kindness, that generosity, and that support. It is much, much appreciated. Okay, let's get back to the comments, questions, or anybody have any comments or questions for me? Please put them in all capital letters so I know that you want me to share it. And there's Complizer. He's got the emoji thing down, right? Oh, Al Warrior 3 says, I've been playing too much Gears of War 3 and decided to add the 3. Do you know how behind I am on games? I haven't played Gears of War 1 yet, Al Warrior. In fact, I just started playing like Red Dead Redemption 1. That's how behind on games I am. And of course, I only have an old Xbox 360 console. And I've been trying to get a new PlayStation, but you can't even get one still. So maybe someday, right? But then I thought I'd rather have a Quest VR. I don't have one of those either. I'd really like a Quest VR. And then I could just use a PC. I have a decent PC gaming rig, but I never have time to play games. I play old games on my PC. One thing about playing 10-year-old games is they're free or mostly free. We have GOG.com, GOG.com. That's a great website. You get a great old game for like $5, and you still support the authors of those great old games. I love GOG. Wild Ascension, the mothership, with a kind and generous $4.99 super chat. Have you ever seen any type of compelling evidence of possible ET life visiting Earth? If so, what would it be? Thank you for a great show. Well, I think there is some compelling evidence, but it's always got that tantalizing maybe true. The Zimbabwe case with those children that all saw flying saucers and aliens, that's a great story. I like the Cash Landrum incident, and I've deep dived into Roswell many, many times, and I refuse to believe that what crashed at Roswell was just a weather balloon. Based on all the eyewitness testimony of people who claim they saw bodies or aliens or, exotic materials, I think there's something to Roswell. And I'm hopeful that maybe Roswell is the key. And someday the key will go in the lock and unlock the mystery for all of us. Just too much. The volume of information about Roswell is really compelling to me. And also compelling to me is there's a book by Dom Schmidt and Tom Carey called Children of Roswell. And in the book, these children of people who were witnesses to the original Roswell event detail all the things their parents told them, and some of them didn't tell them until they were on their deathbed. I don't think that somebody in the midst of dying suddenly says, you know what, I'm going to make up stories about seeing ET alien bodies at Roswell in 1947 and tell my kids about that. No, I think that's very compelling evidence. But I'm still in the search for the smoking gun, as are most people. But thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. I'm still waiting for some new David Wilcock videos from you. I'm too lazy to go through and make them, right? Oh, yeah, the Holloman. That's another one. That's one of my favorites, too. Kepsa says, I like the Holloman Air Force Base landing with the chit-chat between the Army men and the aliens that allegedly had 3 different cameras rolling. Yeah, and there's some weird stuff about that. Truthseekers, hey, Stephen, do you remember Amiga 500 Moonstone? Yes, I do. And I still have Complizer. I have my original, the first one I ever had, Amiga 1000. And now there's something called a Vampire Accelerator that you can put into it that brings it up to not exactly modern specs, but good enough to browse on it still and do a lot of more modern things with it. I keep saying I'm going to try to get one of those accelerators and set my old Amiga up. If not that, then I have a floppy emulator for that. I just have not set it up yet. I have 2 retro computers that I really like. The TRS-80 Color Computer 3, which was the first 8-bit computer that you could get, really, that multitasked, and also it had 512K RAM, but now you can get up to 2 megs of RAM in a Color Computer 3. I have one of those, but I'm always like waiting for parts, and I keep saying I'm going to set them up in the basement and play with them with my kid, but I haven't yet. So that Color Computer 3 and an original Amiga 1000. I also have a 500, Complizer in my garage, but I prefer the 1000 because it has a separate keyboard and mouse, and it's just a little more what I came up with. I couldn't afford an Amiga 1500, and it makes no sense. But Amiga came out with the 1000 first, then the 500, which was an all-in-one keyboard like a Commodore 64. It was cost reduced. I have the better Amiga 1000. I thought it was better anyway, but they're very, very similar in architecture and all that stuff. So yeah. Yes, Amy Collins. The Amigas made graphics for television well into the 90s. Yeah, Babylon 5. All of the space fighting scenes and the CGI was all done. Babylon 5 was all done on Amiga 2000 computers, or maybe 4000 computers later, and render farms. They would have like 12 Amigas going at once rendering the scenes with a program called Lightwave, which I still have on my Linux box and use occasionally, but I'm terrible at it. And also, the Amiga had video toasters, which allowed you to edit video before anybody even knew that you could do that on a computer. Zaxonite says, I remember people being impressed by the graphics. Yes. I think it was something like 16 million colors in 1988 or something, or 4,096. 4,096 colors in 1988 when PCs had 16 color graphics. Amigas had 4,096 color graphics. Later pumped up to 16 million, of course, with upgrades, right? 12 Feet Tall says there will never be a disclosure because there is anything real to disclose. It's all BS. I'm still holding out hope. I don't want to let it go completely, but I'm getting to the point where I'm tired of so much nonsense and hype, and then it all falls apart, right? Hey, folks, it felt good to yell nerd at somebody for once instead of being yelled at me. Thanks for that. No, I'm a geek. There's a difference. Nerds are dorky, pragmatic. Geeks were cool. I was always a geek, right? Still am, probably always still will be. In fact, tonight I have to go and set up another, I have a little audio workstation in the corner over here with a mixer and microphones and distortion boxes. And I'm going to be using that specifically for recording vocals, Pragmagic. I got all of these weird, Pragmagic will appreciate this. I have all of these weird, like, distortion pedals or delay pedals, and one of them is a Yamaha FX 550, which is really for a guitar, but I always used it on my voice because it's got distortion and overdrive and all these different things, and flange and echo and delay and reverb, and you can customize the patches. And I have had that box forever, Pragmagic. So I've got that over there and a bunch of other little boxes. I've got a harmonizer, voice harmonizer, and some other stuff. I'm going to be setting that up and recording some new stuff soon. Truthseekers, will there be another episode with Cal Korff soon? Well, I hope so, but part of me hopes so, and then part of me hopes not, because I got to tell you, I get shit every day on Twitter from this from Mikey Horn. It's Mikey Horn, because nobody cares that much about Cal Korff and his work to be like busting my balls every day. So, but I'll take the slings and arrows. Sure, he's welcome back, but he's busy with his new show with his girlfriend, Melissa. They have a show called Wicked Truth. Look it up. Al Warrior, working at Geek Squad. Actually, my company is the anti-Geek Squad, Al Warrior, because instead of taking your computer to Geek Squad, you just call me and I go to the house. And luckily now with COVID winding down, let's hope it's winding down. Of course, World War III is ramping up. So that's the downside. Hopefully, Al Warrior, the medical situations are winding down and people won't mind me in their house again, and I'll be able to resume my pre-COVID business, which used to be pretty lucrative, but COVID killed me like everybody else's small business. Customizing patches. Is your harmonizer a TC Helion? No, I'm going to show you what it is, and you're going to laugh at me, Pragmagic, because it's actually a toy harmonizer, but it sounds amazing. And I did a special mod to it to get a line out on it. but it's really just this little box with a speaker on it, and it has echo, harmonization, auto tune, and something else. But it sounds amazing, and you're going to want one. Actually, I have a couple. I have 3 or 4 of them because I liked it so much, and I was afraid they would stop making them. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'll get with you offline, Pragmagic. But it's basically a children's toy that included a harmonizer, and I couldn't afford a real harmonizer, so I hacked this thing together. The TC Helion is a hell of a thing, and I would love one of those, but I could never afford one. But this harmonizer gives you one or 2 voices above and 1 or 2 voices below. But unfortunately, it doesn't separate them out. But it's still a very, very useful little box. Because if you want like super thick backing vocals that sound like a choir behind something, left and right it, do 2 takes, and it comes out amazing. Toy harmonizer is music to my circuit bent ears. I'm going to bend one of these too. That's funny that you mentioned that. And you know what, Pragmagic? I came up with the idea that I want to do a whole album, and I want to use nothing but circuit bent instruments, and I'm just going to call it Bent. Isn't that a cool idea? Even if it's just a 4-song EP, because I'm not sure I could do 10 out of Toys and Trash like that. But I'm sure I could do, 3 or 4 songs, right? Frapsap says, don't you miss the good old days when the government used to dismiss UFOs as conventional aircraft, whereas now they try to convince the public that conventional aircraft are UAP? Yeah, you're right. It's like they did a total 180. They say, oh, no, that's just a helicopter. Oh, that's just a small engine aircraft. No, now it is, those are aliens, right? Lue Elizondo. That's another thing. I'm going to have a new character for Lue Elizondo. I got the mask. I just have to spend some time doing the hair. And I guess I'm going to have to give him a beard. Now he's going to do the beard thing for a while. But if anybody has any suggestions for what the Lue Elizondo character could be called, the best I've come up with is Lue Elizondo. Lue Elizondo. If anybody has any more suggestions, I'm all ears. Absolutely all ears. And I want somebody, you know what? I'm going to do it right now. Listen, Free Speech won. And you can now finally see the Who's Lue documentary right on YouTube. They killed his momentum, though. So I would appreciate, here's what happens. I heard Ollie on Alien Addict saying this and encouraging people to go and support Manny at Area 503's documentary, because what happens when they take a video down is it screws with the algorithm. You lose all your momentum, and then you got to almost start all over again to get the video popping again. Calcorp says Lue Elizondo is a perfect name because he does. Yeah. So let me get over here and oh, wait a minute. Did I? No, I got that. Okay. So I'm going to put the link to the Who's Lue documentary. 1 second. Who's Lue? Oh, man. I always, you know what? I will spell Lue Elizondo's name wrong for the rest of my life. And the problem is because I had a friend, I still have a friend named Louis, Louis, and when I refer to him as Lou, it's Lou. I always do that. I did it tonight for the show. I had to fix it. All right, so there's the link for the Who's Lue documentary. Please do go over there, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a comment. If you've seen it already, watch it again. Help Manny to get the momentum going on that thing again, because he should have gotten 50,000 views out of that. But they took it down, and now all the momentum is lost, and he has to start all over again to get the video popping again. And that's not fair. After all, even YouTube agreed with him that what he did was fair use and not a violation of copyright. So they had no rights to copyright claim and force his videos down with legal threat letters posted to YouTube. Lord Ludicrous Plaid says, great show tonight. Well, thank you for your kindness. So what can I say? And Manny's here, says thank you for all your support. My pleasure. And Manny did an excellent, also on his channel, is an excellent breakdown of the TTSA finances, but he's gotten into more. And I said, you got to come here and do that again, but with me. And I'm going to be looking into some things as well. And then we're going to be filing letters with the SEC and other government entities asking them how any of this shit is legal. So Manny from Area 503 will be here to detail for us the accounting gymnastics that Tom DeLonge has done for his so-called, public benefit corporation. There's no benefit to the public. It only benefits Tom DeLonge and apparently his sister, who gets paid $150,000 a year to not return emails to anybody that asks questions, right? Out of investor funds. Must be nice. Yeah, and CalCorp says file with the SEC. Yeah, well, I hear there may be an investigation and some other media, large media outlets may be following that story. And we want to get on the right side of history and also detail it here before, before anything big breaks, right? But we'll see what happens. So, I think we've done our due diligence. We're trying to make the shows a little shorter. We're hitting the 90-minute mark. So I'm going to bounce on out of here. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. Always happy when there's an audience. So glad you could come here tonight and be a part of mine. Always a pleasure to spend some time here with you. And I want to thank each and every one of you kind and generous benefactors, you PayPal donators, you super chatters, you Patreon supporters, you people sending money through Cash App. Yeah, Steve S. says, hey, Steve, with you on this one. Lue is in the military, once in the military, always in the military. The same military that has been hiding shit from its citizens for 75 years. Yeah, I agree. And Wild Ascension says, Manny, I wasn't able to save that long of a video. Too much space, so I came up with an idea to create a trailer for Who's Lue. Is that okay with you? Trailer will link to the movie in my description. Yeah, do it. I think he'd like you to do that, right? So thanks to all you kind and generous benefactors. Thanks to all of you kind supporters who come here to live chat. And I want to remind everybody, I got to do this every time. I got to make a bumper for this. If you are listening in audio podcast land, we appreciate you and we're glad you're there. However, you're listening to a replay. If you want to come and support us here, go on over to YouTube, youtube.com, and put Truthseekers, one word, in the search bar. Just look for me, the strange guy with the sunglasses. That would be the Truthseekers channel. We're the first one that pops up. Smash that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, and you too will know when we're doing a live taping for the podcast. And you can come over here and be a part of the live broadcast, and more importantly, the live chat. You are most welcome here. We take comments, questions. We don't have an echo chamber here. We let people disagree. You could disagree with me even, as long, and oftentimes people do. But you are most welcome. Please don't, we love you listening to the audio podcast because, and some people are driving a truck or doing things and they need the audio podcast. That's why we provide it. But you're missing half the fun. Really, come over to Truthseekers YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and then you'll know when we're doing a live taping. You can come over here and be a part of the live taping and the live chat. Also, we have a Discord that you can join. The description to do that, or the link to do that, is in the description of this video. And you are most welcome here. We want to invite you to be a part of the Truthseekers community. It's more than just me here. And like I said, this isn't an echo chamber. You could be a believer. You could be a skeptic. You could be on the fence. You could be in the middle. Everybody is welcome here, and we would like to have you. So what else can I say, friends? Tonight we showed up and did our due diligence, try to present something good for you. Oh, I do one little bit of show business that I have to get out of the way. Number one, Kari Spooky will no longer be working with us. Now, there's a whole lot of reasons for that, and I'm not getting into any of the drama reasons, but I think I'll just remain positive and say this. About people that work with me, sometimes throughout my lifetime, whatever I have endeavored to do, I've had what I call a good side man. And what a good side man does is I'd be the guy in the spotlight. They're a good side man, and they help me to be better at what I do. I've had that in music. You've got a guitar player next to you. I've had that in magic, doing magic shows. I had an excellent side man there that always went out of his way to make my shows as best that they could be. And here we've had Kari as a side person, not exactly in the spotlight, but behind the scenes, helping me to make the show look better, sound better, do better. But one of the things with a sideman is you don't want a sideman that has other aspirations, really. And like if that's all they want to do is be the side person, that's when it works the best. Not to say that Kari did an amazing job, but Kari has other aspirations. So she went and was co-hosting with the girls from This One Time I Got Abducted by Aliens, then doing some paper bag news, like live news broadcast, then maybe starting a UFO show. Then she's still doing this out of context CW Channer thing. She's very busy. And especially having other aspirations, like if she wants to host a show, she's not going to have time for this. And also said that she's taking a break from the whole subject. So I think she's even taking a break from the One Time I Was Abducted by Aliens. I'm not exactly sure of the exact details of when she's coming back with her new show, but she's going to do her own show. And we wish her the best of success with all her future endeavors. I'll miss her, and I'll certainly miss her help here. But, like I said, if somebody has other aspirations, I don't want to feel like I'm holding them back. If they want to be a show host, they should go be a show host. They shouldn't be, doing dumb shit for me, like making thumbnails or whatever. And you'll notice the thumbnails have sucked. But I just haven't had time. I'm going to make some templates and things, so they'll improve again. I'm not terrible at graphics. I just don't have time, so I'll throw something up for these next couple of shows in the meantime. So, if you see her, wish her the best of success from all of us. And she's tremendous at video and editing and all those things. I'm sure she'll be very successful with whatever she plans to do in the future. And I'll certainly miss her, and especially miss the help, because it's not easy doing all this stuff yourself. But I'm back to being a one-man army here. And I'm okay with it. I'm going to adjust some things. I'm going to figure out how to do the thumbnails better. I just haven't had time this week. And another final bit of business for the show is that you'll notice there was no Midnight Hour Show episode today, because we used to do them every Thursday, and there's a whole nother drama reason for that. And, I don't feel the need to go into that. But I wanted to just dump all the Midnight Hour Show episodes at once, but Kari and others that run shows are like, no, that's a bad idea. It's too much at once. But I want to get them out of the way. So what we're going to do going forward is we're going to host those on Saturday and Sunday evening at midnight. That's right, midnight on Saturday night and on Sunday. So there'll be 2 Midnight Hour shows a week, and you are all most welcome. This weekend, on Saturday night at midnight, we'll have one. On Sunday night at midnight, we'll have one. This will mean that every day going forward, there should be a video from us here, whether it's a live Truthseekers taping or a production video or something else. We should have something new on this YouTube channel every day going forward, doing it that way. You'll know that we take Truthseekers off for the weekend, but I will always have time to render a few of those and put them up and participate in the live chat. So all around, mostly good news. And you are all most welcome to come and join us for those. So that's what I got for you tonight. And what else can I say? I hope you'll join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have an interview with L.A. Marzulli, who you may know has been looking into these Paraka skulls and the Nephilim and the fallen angels and their connections or possible connections to aliens and ancient aliens. Very, very interesting guy. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Please do come and join us and support us hosting a great interview here. So that's what I got for you tonight, folks. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.